Tonight, breaking news from Brakpan: a man linked to one of the biggest police corruption cases in South Africa has apparently taken his own life right in front of witnesses, days after surviving a harrowing assassination attempt. Police now confirm that this man was a primary person of interest in the murder of Marius, witness D. van der Merwe, the man whose testimony shocked the nation at the Madlanga Commission. What really happened? Was it suicide, or was he silenced before he could talk? Let's unpack everything. Welcome back to Mzansi PoliScope, your go-to channel for deep investigations, politics, and crime stories breaking across South Africa. If you're new here, tap that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the most explosive stories. Let's go. To understand why this story has shaken South Africa, we first need to understand who Wiandre Pretorius really was and why his name suddenly sits at the center of one of the most sensitive investigations in the country. Wiandre Pretorius was a 41-year-old former SAPS reservist, a man who once operated inside the law enforcement ecosystem. He was not a senior officer, but he was close enough to police structures to have access, knowledge, and influence, especially in Ekurhuleni, an area already under the spotlight for allegations of deep-rooted corruption. This is important because when someone like that is named at a commission of inquiry, it is never random. Pritorius was implicated during testimony at the Madlanga Commission, an inquiry, a judicial process, tasked with uncovering alleged corruption, criminal networks, and abuse of power within law enforcement agencies, particularly the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. The commission has heard disturbing evidence involving torture, cover-ups, and unlawful killings, and that is where Pretorius's name first surfaced, publicly. The man who named him was Marius van der Merwe, better known to the public as Witness D. And that is where things start getting very serious. Witness D did not just casually mention Pretorius, he directly linked him to a violent 2022 incident involving the torture and killing of Emmanuel Mbense, a suspect whose death was allegedly hidden by dumping his body in a dam. According to the testimony, Pretorius was present during key moments surrounding that crime. Now, let's be clear, being named at a commission does not automatically mean guilt, but it does mean scrutiny, and in this case, that scrutiny quickly escalated. Police later confirmed that Pretorius became one of the first persons of interest in the murder of Witness D himself, the very man who had implicated him. That alone elevated Pretorius from a background figure to a central character in a high-risk investigation. This was no longer about allegations on paper. This was about real deaths, real bullets, and real consequences. As investigators moved in, Pretorius was questioned, his firearms were seized, and his cell phones were taken for forensic analysis, a clear indication that police believed he might hold crucial information related to Witness D's assassination. From that moment, Wiandre Pretorius was no longer just a former reservist. He was a man under pressure, surrounded by suspicion, and connected, directly or indirectly, to a chain of violence that keeps growing longer. And as you're about to see, what happened next only deepened the mystery.
Marius van der Merwe, known as Witness D, was a private security boss and former EMPD official who testified at the Madlanga Commission. He shockingly claimed that Pretorius was present at a scene where a Mozambican man, Emmanuel Mbense, was tortured and killed, and that his body was dumped in a dam to hide the crime. Dramatically, just weeks after giving that testimony, van der Merwe himself was gunned down outside his Brakpan home in December 2025, a killing that shook the nation and raised red flags about witness protection in South Africa. Police later confirmed that Pretorius was one of the first persons of interest they took in for questioning regarding van der Merwe's murder, and they seized his firearms and phones for investigation. Just days before his death, Pretorius survived a terrifying hit attempt outside his Boksburg home. Gunmen reportedly riddled his bakkie with around 16 bullets, and he escaped alive. Police opened an attempted murder case. Now here's the big question. Was this hit because he was about to speak out, or was it part of a deeper internal conflict? Some people are already comparing this to other high-profile cases in South Africa where suspects or witnesses suddenly die or are killed before they can fully testify. The most disturbing chapter of the story unfolded late on the night of Saturday, 7 February 2026, at a busy petrol station in Brakpan, east of Johannesburg, a place where people normally stop for fuel, not to witness a tragedy. According to police, Wiandre Pretorius arrived at the filling station with his partner, who is a serving police sergeant. What followed was not sudden or silent. CCTV footage reportedly shows a heated argument between the two, lasting several moments, with emotions visibly running high. Then, in full view of his partner and bystanders, Pritorius allegedly drew a firearm and shot himself. Emergency services were called immediately, but he was declared dead at the scene. The shock spread quickly, not only because of how public and violent the act was, but because of who he was and what he was linked to. Police moved fast to secure the area, sealing off the petrol station, while forensic teams collected evidence. A formal inquest docket was opened to determine the exact circumstances surrounding his death. Investigators confirmed that CCTV footage has been seized and witnesses were interviewed throughout the night. At this stage, police say there is no evidence of third-party involvement, but they stress that the investigation is ongoing. In a case already filled with unanswered questions, even this final moment raises more doubts than closure.
In relation to Wiandre Pretorius, Wiandre Pretorius was a person of interest in the murder of Witness D. He was actually the first person of interest that we took in for questioning. We had seized his firearms as well as cell phones that are still in police custody or possession for further investigation. That particular investigation is still ongoing, and it is at an advanced stage. We won't comment further on that, but it's safe to say that our Gauteng detectives are still on the ground investigating that particular incident. So Wiandre Pretorius was one of two persons of interest right after Witness D was murdered that was taken into questioning, and certain items seized such as firearms and cell phones. So we are investigating the attempted hit on Wiandre Pretorius that allegedly took place outside his home on Thursday, which is a matter that he reported, that there was a hit on his life. Our ballistics experts took the necessary evidence and they are examining it. And at a later stage, we will then provide feedback on how far that investigation is. But in terms of this particular incident, this latest incident, we are investigating, and we have registered rather an inquest docket into the suicide of Wiandre Pretorius.
Two quick questions from me. He shot himself apparently in front of his partner. This is Johan Marie Extien, who's also a police sergeant who was named at the Madlanga Commission. Do you see a link in terms of her being with him in his final moments? Of course, she was his fiancée. And whether you've also been able to establish which weapon he used to commit suicide yesterday, if, as you say, all of his weapons have been confiscated by police.
Well, I can confirm that from what we have gathered, his wife was on the scene. We are told that there was an argument between himself and his wife before he pulls the trigger on himself. We are still investigating what could they have been arguing about.
This is where the story stops being just tragic and starts becoming deeply unsettling. When investigators step back and look at the bigger picture, Wiandre Pretorius' death does not stand alone. It forms part of a growing chain of violence linked to the 2022 torture and killing of Emmanuel Mbense, a case first exposed through testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Police sources have confirmed that multiple individuals were identified as persons of interest in the Mbense case. Since then, the pattern has been alarming. Several of those linked to the investigation have either been killed, survived attempted hits, or died under controversial circumstances. Pritorius now becomes one of the latest names added to that list. First, witness D, the man who spoke out, is assassinated. Then, Pritorius survives a targeted shooting outside his Boksburg home. Days later, he is dead. Coincidence or pressure closing in from all sides? What fuels public suspicion even more is the timing. Pritorius had already been questioned by police. His firearms and cell phones were seized, suggesting investigators believed he held critical information. At the same time, he may have feared being targeted, either by people he had knowledge about or by those who believed he knew too much. Some South Africans are drawing parallels to past high-profile cases where individuals appeared to be eliminated before they could fully cooperate with authorities. Police officially deny any coordinated silencing campaign, but the sequence of events makes that denial hard for many to accept. Right now, what remains is a disturbing question. Are we witnessing a coincidence or the slow collapse of a dangerous network trying to protect itself? If true, this raises major concerns about witness protection, justice system integrity, and accountability in South Africa. A key witness is murdered, someone connected to the case ends up dead, and another possibly central figure dies under suspicious circumstances. The DA and other political organizations have condemned prior killings of witnesses in the Madlanga Commission and demanded better protection for whistleblowers and justice for victims. If you found this video insightful and you want more updates on this story as it develops, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this was a suicide or is something deeper going on? This is Mzansi PoliScope, where we break news and ask the hard questions. Until next time, stay informed and stay sharp.